Hi, welcome to Family on Purpose. We're your hosts, Derek and Gina England, and we're so excited to be with you today for a really important conversation. Today, our topic is how to have meaningful conversations with your kids. Let's dive in.
Okay.
All right, what do you think of when you hear the topic, how to have meaningful conversations with your kids?
Well, our kids being teenagers, right in the smack dab middle of their teenage years, I think often about how do I have meaningful conversations
Yeah.
with kids and not kids, our kids. And how do I do that? What do we talk about? What are important conversations? And how do I make sure that we have those so that they are set up for success in sports and activities and church and going forward in life? What do you think of?
That's great. I do think I agree with you on as they get older, the more important that you see it as conversations like, okay, what do I need to impart to them
Sure.
before
Yeah.
they leave home? And so they do become a little bit more serious um, and I know the impact that they could have. So when I think about it, I put down a verse. I'll have to find it. Okay, Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. And so I think about it as training. What are we training them? What values do we want to instill in them? What wisdom do we want them to glean?
I agree. All right, let's dive in. If that's our topic, if that's our focus, what wisdom do we want them to know? What do we want them to be aware of? How do we do it, babe?
Mhm. Well, I think number one, we seek God. God, what kind of conversations do we need to have with the kids? And it's not a one size fits all. It's, hey, it's going to be tailor made to our daughter, a conversation, and it may look different
Mhm.
through our son, or there may be topics that we discuss with one and not the other. And so I think praying for each individual child, Lord, what are the conversations that we need to have? And following his lead.
Okay, let me respond to that. I think if I hear you, the first and most important thing is seek God.
Yes,
Okay, and I
absolutely.
agree. Like I'm such a linear thinker that for me it is okay. I seek God about what are the most important topics that we need to talk
Mhm,
about,
mhm.
and then it is how do we talk about that?
Yeah.
And to me, that splits into each individual child.
Right.
Because, like you're saying, hey, the way I talk to Jack is going to be different than the way I talk to Sawyer.
Mhm.
The way God talks to you is different than the way he talks to me.
Right.
And I think it's incredible the way that he creates us to hear from him differently and to receive differently from different people. So I agree. Number one, seek the Lord. And I think number one topic in that is helping them seek the Lord as well. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, for sure.
So that, yeah, I agree. That's the way my brain breaks it up.
Yeah. I think about the book of Proverbs that is chock full of wisdom, and it's written for a father to a son. And so it just shows you the importance of pouring in to that next generation and having conversation. Proverbs 1:8-9, the father is saying, "Hear, my son, your father's instruction, and forsake not your mother's teaching, for they are a graceful garland for your head and pendants for your neck." And so, God, I see the value of a mother and father's instruction to their
Mhm.
children. Lord, what do you want us to instruct our children in?
I think that's good. And as you're talking about that, what hit me was when we seek God, I think it is because we have a vision of what we want our family to be in the future. Like, um, okay, God, it begins, or I can see where it begins, especially for us having a vision for our family. Then we can see what we want our kids to become, what we want to become, what we want our family to look like. And that vision will guide what are the important conversations to have for a family who maybe has no vision or hasn't thought through that vision. It would be harder. They're going to be probably more present focused. Hey,
Mhm.
what conversations do teenagers need to have
Right. Right.
compared to seeking the Lord? Okay, the Lord, for this vision 10 years from now, what conversations do we need to have? Like for the type of adults I want our children to be and the type of relationship and the type of family, what conversations do we need to have today?
Yeah.
So I agree. Hey, based on the vision, have a vision,
Yeah.
seek the Lord,
Mhm.
and then break it down and encourage the kids not to let go of their parents' instruction and wisdom.
That's right. That's right. I think just a foundational aspect of having conversation with kids is creating an environment where conversation is easy.
Yeah.
I think so many times, like if we try to force a conversation at a time that's not ideal, like you can kind of get a wall up or a withdrawal, or you can see yourself forcing
Yeah.
the matter where maybe the child's more closed off than open to hearing. And
Yeah.
so I think create environments that are safe, that a
What is
child can express their feelings without being criticized or condemned. Be a good listener in those situations. Hey, this is safe. There's nothing that you're going to say that I'm going to make fun of you
Mhm.
about or shame
Mhm.
you about or hold over your head in the future and use as a weapon against you. Oh, do you remember when you said this? Like, that's not who we're going to be as parents. We are safe places for our children to express their emotions, their feelings, their thoughts, their confusion.
That's good. I was going to ask safe, and then you described it perfectly. So great.
Yeah. When I think about
Mhm.
environments where
Mhm.
our kids communicate best, I can think of a couple instances, and I'd love to hear your take on this. But I
Okay.
know if I get into a car one on one with one of our kids,
Sure.
that is like their space to open up, talk freely. It's free flowing, and that is their talk spot. Like, okay, hey, if we're feeling a little, I haven't gotten to have a good conversation with this child. Hey, you want to go run some errands with me? Do you want to go here and there? The car is their talk spot. Another child of ours, their spot when I have great conversation is on walks.
Yeah.
They absolutely love a walk. Well, our whole family does. Like
Yeah.
it's part of kind of just a daily rhythm in our life. But when I get those one-on-one time with this specific child, they just really open up and we get to have deep conversations. What about you? How do you see it from like a father's
Oh, I see it the
view?
same way. I mean, I know which kid you're talking about on
Well,
each of those,
I'm
but
saying, where do they talk to you the
um,
best?
yeah, I think it is shoulder to like we learned a long time ago in church, shoulder to shoulder, especially with boys or
Mhm.
men, leads to face to face. Hey, a shared experience um, creates a connection that facilitates conversation.
Yeah.
And so hey, riding in a car can be shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
Going on a walk can be shoulder to shoulder. Um, I think an adventure, a bike ride, doing something fun that
Mhm.
creates a connection so then you can have face to face. I would encourage other parents if you're looking to have a specific conversation, think about activity as a connection and then moving to a conversation afterwards. Hey, let's go do something fun and grab a cup of coffee afterwards. Or let's go do something
Great.
fun and then grab some ice cream and talk about stuff.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of thoughts are firing off when you're talking about that is I would encourage people. Well, I'll tell a story. I was in a men's group and a guy, he has got older teenage sons and he was, hey, I really want to go deep with my kids and this and that. And I want to tell them how much they mean to me. And he's like, I usually just use a bunch of words and hope that they understand and then never actually get to it.
Mhm.
But I encouraged him. The other guys in the group encouraged him. Hey, you don't have to make it needs to be a safe environment,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have to be perfect.
Right.
Like it doesn't have to be this picturesque movie setting and all the things are right and you're driving down the road and the sun's coming through the trees. Like just say it.
Yeah.
If you've got something on your heart, say it. And
Good.
especially if it is encouraging or building up
Mhm.
or supporting or showing somebody or telling somebody that you love them. Hey, I'm proud of you. I love you.
Mhm.
I think you're awesome. And here's why. We don't have to mince words as
Right.
parents.
Right.
Our kids are emotionally more mature than we usually give them credit for.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it doesn't have to be formal and
No,
scripted.
no.
It can be organic and flow,
Yeah,
and it can look different. We don't have to have an expectation other than I want to communicate to this child how much I
that's
love
right.
them.
That's right.
So I think for parents that for us it's easy to kind of identify, hey, these are their sweet spots where they open up in conversation. And I want to encourage the parents that are listening, think about past times where you're like, okay, that child just went after it talking. Or if you don't know, like if you can't recall, where's a spot that they really open up? um, be a student and start studying them and watch and take note and go, oh, okay. Sometimes I see, I guess memes about this all the time. It's like the mom is exhausted, the
Yeah.
teenager hasn't talked all day, and then it's like at bedtime, the child wants to just spill everything. And so take note if that's their time or bedtime or whatever. I think when we talk about creating that environment, you use a acronym. Okay, if they're angry or
Hungry, angry, lonely, tired, stressed.
yeah, what's the
It's
acronym?
HALT.
Halt. Okay,
And then I added the S. So it's either shout or halt. I don't know either one,
yeah,
but yeah.
yeah. So okay, so it's
Hungry, angry,
mhm,
lonely,
mhm.
tired, or stressed.
Yeah. So if you're looking to have an a great conversation with your kids, make sure those things are eliminated. Hey, are they hungry right now? Okay, feed them a snack. Um, are they lonely? Like, don't take offense to if your child is withdrawn from the situation. Kind of identify what's causing this withdrawal, or how are they feeling? Are they tired? And
Mhm.
um, just give loads of grace, loads of love, um, creating the space for them to open up.
That's good, babe. That's good. And I would add one bit of encouragement. Um, your kids are not your neighbor's kids.
Right.
Your kids are not our kids. Our kids are not your kids. And so to that point, right, it is going to look different for your home and for your kid.
Mhm.
And don't compare.
Yeah.
Just because you hear a parent say, this is the way you should do it,
Right.
that doesn't mean that's the way you should do it.
Mm.
That's the way that worked well for them and their kids. And it is probably a bit of a trial and error to
Mhm.
determine what is right for our kids in this situation.
Yep. And I think it goes back to seeking God.
Yeah, I agree.
God, how, what, when, um, just creating those opportunities to seek him and let him lead out and follow his lead.
Right. I agree.
Yep.
Okay. So we create an environment. It's safe. We're intentional. Let's go back to the basics. Hey, we've got a vision for what we want. We're seeking the Lord on what and when and how. What are some of the important conversations that you think we need to have with the kids?
For me, I go to faith all the time. That's
Yep.
probably going to be my number one thing. So talking of the Lord, his goodness, his character, showing them in our lives who he is to us so that they can get a glimpse of, hey, this is what God is doing. Sometimes, a child, no matter what their age is, what they're in the home, they may not have the eyes to see, or I'm looking out for you, Lord, where are you? And so I think faith, who God is, and then what his word calls us to do. And then, hey, how does God command us to live? And those instructions from the word of God is, hey, okay, in this situation, God calls us to act in this manner. So mine would probably center around all faith, just honoring God with the instructions that we give them.
Okay, that's good. I like it.
What about you?
Yeah, faith, character,
Mm-hmm.
wisdom. Because I feel like if they have those, I mean, this is easily category again. Whatever the vision is for your family, God will determine. I'm just thinking when I hear important conversations, what are they? And I think it's faith. I think it's character for them.
Yeah.
I think it is wisdom for these are the best ways. Hey, this is wisdom that I can pass on to you, or what wisdom have you gained or gleaned?
Yeah.
And then I think in character also is forgiveness. One of, I think, the important conversations that we can have with our kids is asking for forgiveness.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because I don't get it right all the time.
You do not lose your cool though.
I lose my cool. I go
Not
into,
verbally,
oh
maybe
no.
like with your mood,
Yeah, like
but
I'm fussy or
okay, if I
whatever.
think of someone lose their cool, I think like,
Oh no, like fussy.
yeah,
Like I come in and start cleaning up in a bad mood and
yeah.
throw stuff around. Not like throw at people, but
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't really yeah.
um but so I think asking for forgiveness
Mhm.
is a character conversation that shows humility and teaches our kids how to forgive, how to ask for forgiveness. That's a
Yeah.
big one to me.
Yeah, that's an act. That's a humble act.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hey, I got it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as parents, we all get it wrong.
Oh, of
I've
course.
never heard of a perfect parent. Um, someone who gets it right all the time. I certainly don't. And I think that's wonderful that you mentioned, hey, a conversation is asking for forgiveness
Yeah.
because it shows them we're willing to humble ourselves. We're not perfect. We're not prideful
Mhm.
and thinking, hey, because we're the adult, it doesn't matter how we
Yeah.
act. And it goes on to model that for them so that they can ask others for forgiveness
Yeah.
and also give forgiveness, what
Oh,
that
sure.
looks like.
Yeah, sure.
That's good.
I would think, thinking more on, okay, what did I say? Faith, character, wisdom. I might add a fourth one, and that would be stories.
Mm,
Because I think stories communicate. Our kids used to love hearing stories from when you were young or I was young or adventures we had or whatever it was.
mm,
And I think it communicates what story they're brought up into,
mhm.
like where they where they fit in and what they're a part of.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to be a part of something that's bigger than them.
Mm,
Like that's the beauty of college sports or professional sports or being in a club or like you feel like you're part of something.
mhm.
And I think that's I think story is good.
Yeah. I smile because just yesterday, um, I was telling a story about a girl, one of my long-term childhood friends, coming into our home and not realizing that I had a parent on the couch, and she comes in and rattles off something out of her mouth that she wouldn't have said in front of my parent, and then the shock of him saying, "Emily," um, and just getting to share that with even just yesterday,
Yeah.
like they're teenagers, but they still love our childhood stories,
Well,
and
yeah.
even getting to hear grandma's stories and
Yeah.
um, things that happened, 90 years ago. Like,
Well, you want to know
yeah,
how did
it's
how
really
did we end
important.
up here? Why are
Yeah,
we here? How did you guys end up together?
yeah.
Why this many kids? Or they want to know
Mhm.
context as to why they're here. I think the Bible tells. I mean, the Bible is a story, and the Bible tells in story. And Jesus taught in story. He taught in parable because
Yeah.
people can understand. And I think we can use our story to teach wisdom or
Sure.
character or
Oh,
faith
yeah.
to our kids.
Yeah.
And those are important conversations.
Mhm.
And it doesn't have to be like this super heavy.
Yeah.
An important conversation in my mind would be the most fun conversation in the world. Like, hey, I've got this nugget that I want to give to you and I want you to take it and run with it. Not sit down. Yes, fold your hands, sit
Right.
quietly. Here's a pen and paper in case you want to take notes.
Mhm.
No, I want important conversations to be the most fun and most memorable. Years ago, Jack and I went on a backpacking trip, and it was me and him, and then a buddy of mine and his son, and all four of us are friends. And so, like, it was while we were hiking
Mhm.
that we had important conversations.
Yeah.
Bring up this or bring up that, or what do you think about this?
Mhm.
I think questions are incredibly important
Mhm.
in these conversations,
Yep.
not just talking or telling.
Yep. I in my notes that I in preparing it was ask questions because when you ask questions, you're able to gain further understanding. When they tell you a story, okay, what are your thoughts on that? Ask that, or how does that make you feel?
Mhm.
Hey, explain more. I don't understand this part of the story. Will you explain that further? But it does bring further understanding, and it's an opportunity to be a good listener for your children to know, like, they have your attention and what they're saying is important. We don't brush them off, not fully understanding or grasping or giving advice in something that's we don't fully grasp.
Sure. Well, when you ask questions, you put yourself in the boat with them.
Mhm. Yeah, that's good.
Like, hey, we're in this together.
Yep.
We have a friend who he has a child who has begun a relationship with somebody that they're not a big fan of.
Mhm.
Um, and so I was talking to our friend, and they began to ask their kid, "What is it about that other person that you are interested in?"
Mhm.
Instead of just heaping judgment or
Yeah.
like being frustrated or tell, "Hey, I don't like this, and here's why I don't like this." No, no, no. Hey, tell me, what is it about them that you like?
Mm.
And that
That's good.
brings understanding.
Mhm.
Okay, maybe I can understand it from their perspective. And it gives the opportunity to move in on important topics.
Mhm. That's great.
Questions are great, babe. Good idea.
But you said it.
No,
I
I
just
didn't.
had
But you had the
it.
note. I didn't have the note. You had the note.
um, I think through conversation, pursue their heart. And I think about the verse of James 1:19. It says, "Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger." Now, I use this out of context because the way that I've learned it is like, okay, that Bible verse was talking to, hey, if you're in a congregation and you're hearing what today we would call a sermon,
Yeah.
um, I I feel like that passage came from that, but I think it's applicable to everyday life. Hey, you know what? I can be I can be quick to hear and I can be slow to speak. And so I think that's a way to pursue their hearts where we're not jumping on them like with your friend, having that wisdom to ask those questions. I want to learn more. I want to pursue the things that you pursue. And sometimes that's having conversations about things that maybe we wouldn't be interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And even asking God, change my heart about this, change my mind about this, give me an interest in this. Whether it's something that they watch on TV that maybe we don't connect with or a book, um, I want them to know I'm interested in the
Mm-hmm.
things. While I don't understand them, I can grow in understanding and I can grow in interest.
It's good. Okay. So, are those important conversations?
I think
TV show and interest, are those important conversations?
I would say, I think you could say, well, no, a TV show is not, but there's always depth to a TV show, right? Well, what aspect of it do you like? Or they're learning something from it. So, I think we can deem an important conversation, um, as anything that they're willing to talk to us about, that they're willing to come and share. If it's important to them, it's important to me. And I think the point is it's meaningful,
Mm,
right? It doesn't have to have this grandiose meaning. Okay,
right.
now we've both walked away and had this epiphany and revelation. No, we both walked away knowing that each other is valued. I value what you have to say. What do you think? Is a TV show or a book an important
I think it's
conversation?
crazy important.
Okay.
I think it's crazy important. And here's why. Um, I heard it somewhere else, maybe with less alliteration, but rules without relationships results in rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
And so TV shows, books, hey, what you thinking about in the car? Those types of conversations
Yeah.
build relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And not we want relationships so that we can enforce more rules, but we want relationships so that we have the opportunity for the very meaningful, heavy, deep conversations. JH Ranch has, the different phases of parenting, caretaker, cop, coach, and consultant. And you and I have talked about how unless you are a faithful caretaker, a faithful cop, and a faithful coach, your kids might not want you as a consultant.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be a consultant when they're older. And so I think we earn our way up to that throughout the years. And it is, hey, tell me about that TV show. What do you like about it? What do you like about that video game? It is the relationship that builds and earns the opportunity for consulting later on, because truth is, our kids are going to be outside of our home a lot longer than they're ever inside our home.
Yeah.
And so we have an investment that we're making now that's going to pay off for decades later.
Yep. Yep. That's good. I'm thinking about how you say, the books and things are crazy important to have conversations about. And I think, why would we ever want to make our children feel like what they had to say was not interesting or was not
Right.
meaningful? Like, hey, I'll talk about it all day long. Because it's important to them, it's important to me.
Yeah. And even if it's not something I actually am interested in or enjoy, Lord, help me to be interested.
Yep.
Like you said, help me to engage in this conversation and make them feel important on what He has created interesting in them.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm going to go back to creating an environment. I know we touched on, okay, make sure that it's safe so that they can express themselves and whatever that is, their thoughts, their feelings, anything that's going on in their mind. I also think a large aspect of that is not having any distractions.
Mhm.
And so don't be on your phones. And I say phones, and I probably say that every third episode, just because I feel like that is the era that we are living in. Um, I mean, we've done it to each other. We've
Oh,
been
sure.
around other adults that have done it to us,
Sure.
like, oh, wait, let me check my watch, let me check my phone or whatever, mid sentence. And I know the way that it feels, and I don't want to make our kids feel that way. And so, hey, create that environment where this is time that you have me.
Mhm.
I'm all yours in
Mhm.
this. There's not more important text. If it is an emergency, I'm sure someone will call the phone multiple times. But create it to where you can be all in with them, giving them your focus and your attention. Because I think when you do that, they return back to that environment.
Yep.
I think a parent, when they blow their child off, something is more important. I don't think that it makes a situation where someone's excited to return to.
That's good. Create an environment where somebody's excited to come back to.
Mm.
That's good. Something you said reminded me of a family ID workshop we did for a family. And they had multiple kids, I think 4, 5, 6 kids, and they were going through the core values. And dad was up there with the Post-it note writing on the board. And the kid, literally, the oldest son, pushed his chair back from the table and said, Dad, whatever, you just choose it because it's always your way, anyways, every time.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that speaks of what you're saying in a negative way. Like, hey, that father had created unsafe environments over time to where the children didn't feel like their voices mattered or were heard, their ideas or considerations weren't taken. And so, like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't want to be working together towards a common goal and one of our kids to say, whatever, Dad, just do it your way because you always do it your way anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I don't want that. I don't want that.
Yeah, that's good.
I want our family to feel like a team.
Mm.
And in a team, everybody's perspective matters. That doesn't mean we're going to take it. That doesn't mean
Right.
that's a good idea and that's a good. Sometimes there are bad ideas. I had a buddy pray one time, Lord, we were about to have a meeting and he said, Lord, thank you for the bad ideas. Amen. And we were like, what? Dude, why are you praying for bad ideas? But
Mm-hmm.
hey, sometimes there are bad ideas. That doesn't mean we're going to take it.
Yep.
But I want our family to feel like a team
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's voice to matter.
Yep. That's great. That's so good. I think there's so many different elements of continuing on in that vein of a safe environment. Okay. So we wanted them to be able to express their feelings, and we want them to have our undivided attention. We're going to be a distraction free time of conversation. And I also think being your child's confidant, because when they entrust us with vulnerable parts of their life,
Yep.
don't go and share your child's vulnerabilities with someone that they would not share them to.
True.
If they're trusting you, be trustworthy, keep their confidence. I think that makes a big impact of like, gosh, if I tell this person, are they going to go off and tell? There's some trepidation in there. And I think it also, I would abstain from sharing intimate details if I knew someone was going to go. And really it's gossip, whether it's your child or not, like you can gossip about your child.
Sure.
And so be just a trustworthy companion to them that keeps their confidence.
It's good. It's a good idea, babe. It's a good point. Yeah. Okay. What else do I need to know? What does everybody need to know about how to have important conversations with our children?
So one thing I would say is two things on the word children.
Okay.
Okay. So if I think about children, when they're in our home, at least until 18 years old, there's so many ages in between there and so many stages. And so have age appropriate conversations.
Okay.
We talked about that in an episode about Corrie ten Boom, one of our favorites, and her dad not giving her information that he didn't feel like she was ready to be burdened with and ready to carry. And so have those conversations at age appropriate time. Don't weigh down your
That's
child
good.
with with ideas and stuff that they're not ready to
It's
carry.
good.
I try to have a protective mindset. Let's say I see something on the news that's disturbing. Well, if I'm disturbed by it, why am I going to go and turn around and disturb my
Yeah.
own child about this? You know, or hey, protecting them from things that would potentially stress them out.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a financial crisis in the family, not making your burden your
Right.
child's burden. And you can say things that are age appropriate, like, hey, we're going to watch our finances right now. You're not going to say, hey,
We've got $6 in the bank account.
right, right. And so age appropriate is one thing. And then I also think, and you can go back to this one because my second part that I want to say about children is like your child is always your child,
Mm-hmm.
whether they are 2 or 22 or 62, they're your child. You can have lifelong, meaningful conversations with your children.
Mm-hmm.
So be that parent, no matter what age, that you're a safe person to talk to. You're not disengaged. You're willing to um, have meaningful conversations no matter what age. Parenting does not stop when your children leave your home. Continue to be wise counsel if they come to you.
It's good.
I think with us having teenagers, our conversations look a lot different than when they were 6 and 7 or
Mm-hmm.
10 even. And so now that they're getting out and about into the world more, we've had conversations at the dinner table. Okay, if someone were to
Mm-hmm.
ask you if you want drugs, what would you do? And actually role playing that out. And I'd love for you to explain more about that. Our friend Savannah had a conversation with her, and her daughter also is driving now. And she was like, my gosh, I'm doing the same thing. I'm asking her, okay, if you're at a gas station and somebody comes up to you, or if you're in the parking lot of a store. And so um, there's so many things that they're walking through and different milestones in life to have those conversations that give them a preparedness.
Yeah. I heard a pastor say a long time ago, hey, if we talk about how babies are made, you can say truth, but the way you say it to an 8-year-old is different than a 15-year-old than it is to maybe a medical student, right? It's all truth all the way along the way, but how we say it and what we communicate is different. So I think I agree, babe. Age appropriate conversations along the way. You talk about adult kids, and I think it's really important to understand, hey, if we have children that aren't in our home, we still need to have meaningful and helpful conversations. I find it funny just based on personality. Your main focus is being a safe place. And if I think about meaningful or important conversations, my main focus would be like on wisdom or application or, hey, what do I do here? Or what do I do there? Looking for help, assistance, guidance, something like that. Just funny, I think, the way God has built us throughout the years.
And I think both of those are great
I
components.
agree.
Like,
I don't think one's better than the other.
well, and maybe one is or not, but I think that they both are a part of meaningful conversations. Like you can't have the meaningful conversations without the safety. And then yes, have it be meaningful, like impart that wisdom or things that you're wanting to instill in your children.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Another aspect that I think about with conversations with our kids is and just as a caution to parents is don't get involved in the gossip of your children. Like we know of parents that they're chomping at the bit for their child to get home to hear the latest and the greatest of the gossip of that day, what happened at school. And as the adult in the situation, rise above that and even encourage your child, okay, not to gossip. Or if you hear some of the gossip, how can you be wise counsel in those moments? You don't want to be sitting there stirring this pot or slinging mud, and getting involved in those behaviors that you shouldn't partake in. But hey, how can you pivot in those situations to, hey, I'm going to give you wise counsel in there.
Sure, that's maturity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's having maturity and spiritual maturity of, hey, I hear that you're going through something. I'm happy to help you through this, but we're not going to talk about all the stuff because it's not important.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get sucked in.
Mhm. What would you say to a parent who needs to have a meaningful conversation with their children, but it's a difficult conversation?
I would say, I think everything that we've said today, begin with the end in mind. Hey,
Mhm.
why are we having this conversation? Prayerfully consider how to have the conversation, when to have the conversation, what to say. I think set the environment so that it is helpful, not just to you as the parent, but also to the kid. And not just for the kid, but also to the parent. Um, and then I think go prepared.
Mm.
Because if you do those things, you're going to come in prepared and expect greatness out of that conversation.
Mhm.
Don't expect that it's going to turn into a dumpster fire and
Yeah.
everybody's going to be yelling at each other. Because if you're expecting that, it will be fulfilled that you're going to wait for that. Okay, this is when the shoe dropped and this is
Yeah.
when it turned. So I think prepare, be
Mhm.
prepared, and be prepared with God
Mhm.
going into it, and over communicate the what and the why, and your heart to your children.
Mhm.
So, hey, I need to have a conversation with you. Here's why we need to have the conversation. I was praying about it, and the Lord was leading me. And these are some of the things that I want to talk about. And here's why I want to talk about these specific things. Again, we talk about it on other episodes. The why or the because,
Mhm.
those are the power words. Hey, here's my motivation in doing this, not just we're doing this, here it is, here's the information, deal with it, move on.
Yeah.
But the why or because, I think, are the power words. What would you say?
I would say don't avoid a difficult conversation. Don't resign. Don't choose self or comfort. Just go in with a prayerfulness, with God as your help. Have the conversations. It's okay if there is a little bit of, rub in a
Mhm.
situation, but don't avoid difficult conversations. Not
Mhm.
every conversation has to be great. A meaningful conversation sometimes are difficult because in the end, we're fighting for our family. And I think if you're a family that's living on purpose, you don't avoid
It's true.
discomfort.
Very true.
You're proactive in those matters. I think for some people, it might be hard to even know where to start
Mhm.
to have a meaningful conversation. Just last night, Derek and I had a date at home, and you printed off some fun conversation cards for us and cut them up and put them into a bowl. And we had dinner together and were able to pull out questions. And they were great conversation starters. Like, what was your favorite memory of high school?
Mhm.
What's another one that we had on there?
Um, what's a favorite outfit that I wear?
Yes, that's right. And so, questions bring about conversation just like that. And so we were able to share stories, and it goes back to story, how you said story is so important. Like those opened the door to story. Oh yeah, I do want to tell you about some of my um favorite memories from high school. And that brought me joy to even get
Mhm.
to share with you because God blessed me with sweet and precious friends um that I still have to this day from high school. Um, and getting to be a part of their lives and their children's life. And so it was an exciting time to get to share. Oh yeah, these are some fun memories of sweet, precious friends.
That's good.
So ask questions. Conversation starters are a great place. They're free. They're online. It doesn't have to be hard. And I think once you get good conversations going, they just lend to even
Mhm.
greater conversations.
I agree. I agree. Small ones build relationship, right? And give you the opportunity to have the big ones.
I want to encourage you, parents, to have meaningful conversations with your children. Have a safe environment for them. Talk about age appropriate things. And your challenge is have a meaningful conversation with each of your children this week. It doesn't have to be formal. It can be when, like us, when we're in the car
Yeah.
or going for a walk or
Yeah.
playing catch in the backyard or making dinner.
Yep.
But purpose to have undivided, non distracted conversations with your kids where they have your undivided attention and your heart. Pursue their heart, live on purpose with them. It'll pay off. It is such a payoff to get to have a deep relationship with your kids. And I believe it comes from having meaningful conversations
Me too.
with them.
Me too. Good challenge, babe.
If you like our podcast, please subscribe. Please tell your friends, leave reviews. We need your help and support to get the word out. We appreciate you tuning in today.